Aloha, Paul here at the WarHQ.co.uk and the War Room, the show that we do, but today we're looking at the British Airborne Allied Paratroopers from Warlord games for use primarily with bolt action, but for other game systems and modelling too. It contains 30 hard plastic 28 multipose minis, use for mid to late war for gaming purposes, and it comes with the separate heads so you can mix the poses a bit more easily with the box. And on the back we've got a wee bit of history about the British Airborne, a few pictures there showing a selection of the models made up. We've got a wee picture of the Decal sheet that's in this, and it tells us we've got enough to make 30 British or Polish Airborne minis, so there'll be head options in there for the both different headgears. And the equipment options include the Lee Enfield Mark V Sten, Bren, scoped Lee Enfield, Piat Webley pistols, and of course hand grenades. And they come on the round plastic bases and construction leaflet inside. So that's basically the box. It's looking nice from the outside, and let's open it up and see what we get in here. So we'll pull it out. This one didn't actually come with cellophane wrapper, so we are opening this new as we got it. And there we go, we've pulled it out the box there. We've got some bases there, instructions, decal sheet. On the top we've got all the bases we need to make these up. That's 30 bases. We've got 5 sprues of figures. We've got the decal sheet there. Now this one is British decal sheet. So it's got all the Pegasus motifs and the arm shoulder flashes and rank badges, etc. you would need. I don't think there are any Polish decals in this. You might be able to get them separately if they're required. And then here we have a little bit of history and a selection of the poses. Now these do look really good as they're listed here, and I'm looking forward to making these up, but we'll see how they go. Gives you a wee bit of information about each of them and a close-up picture of the decal sheet. And on the back we've got a picture of the sprue, so there's going to be 5 sprues that are all the same. All the parts are numbered, and then on this side, which is really handy, it tells you what all those parts are and which arms go with which weapon, to make it a bit easier to figure it all out and put them together. So that's the instructions there, and then we get, as I say, 5 sprues. So that's going to be 6 models on each sprue. And we'll have a little look at the sprues. So roughly speaking, we've got heads over here, a few arm options, body options, and then down here equipment and a couple of the specialist weapon options is roughly how it's divided. And then if we can, I'm going to use these upside down for this camera, so pardon that, but you can see the head there. These will be helmeted options, could be Polish Airborne I'm guessing, and that would be your British Airborne with the bandoliers. And then the bodies, we've got kneeling figure, running pose, firing pose, advancing pose, and then here 2 more running poses. We've got various guns, and what I like about this is the guns are coming with the weapons moulded onto one of the arms, which should make construction much easier. So we've got rifle, Bren, we've got a Piat moulded on, that's the ammo for the Piat, Sten. And then if I put these upside down again, we've got a few more bits of equipment, bugle and backpacks. So it's all looking very good, to be honest. The one thing you don't get is really separate weapons. On this one you'd have to get the weapon sprue from the British if you wanted to add weapons separately, but it's looking pretty good. They look pretty crisp, and they do look like nice crisp sharp minis and nicely done with the Paras uniform. So we're looking forward to these. What we're going to do next is we'll put some of these together, show you how they go together, and then we'll have a look at 6 figures off the sprue and see how they're made up. So we're going to go over putting these guys together, and what we need for this is the bases, the instructions to tell us what bits go where, a sprue, going to use a hobby knife, Need some plastic glue, of course, and some clippers. And we'll go ahead and start doing some clipping out. So straight edge clippers, nice and easy cut. You want to cut the model as close as you can so we don't have any extra sprue. We're going to use this guy first, and what I do is I will tend to cut out all the bits I need for one guy at a time and keep them together, and do all the figures, have all the parts cut one at a time so that I can keep track of which arms go in where. So with this guy we're going to make him up actually as this guy here. So we're looking for berry head, pointing hand and carrying a stain gun. So we'll look for those parts on the sprue. And here's the arm of the stain gun. Again, just take the straight edge clippers, clipping nice and close. And it's nice and easy on these ones. Straightforward. You guys that make these up will know all this already. We need one of the British para heads, which we'll get there. And we also need the pointing arm, which is just on the sprue here. So again, cutting nice and close. So I'll go through for each of the figures, cutting out the bits I need. I make them into a wee pile like this. Of course, we will need a base for him as well. And there we go. So that's the first stage. Then what I'll do is I'll go over these looking for any mould lines. Now, I don't know if you can see it, there's a slight mould line. It's only very slight going down there. So taking the back edge, not the sharp edge, the back edge, just scrape that down and take that mould out there. It goes all the way down there. And just neaten that up where we've clipped it off the sprue. Just clip it up like that. Hope you can see this close enough. And then there's another little mould line going down the front of the knee down where I'm pointing there. And I'm just going to run the back of that down it to smooth it out for painting. It just makes painting look a wee bit neater. That only takes a second to do. And then I'm just going to make sure that trim up the feet on these, make sure they'll go on the base nice and flat. And then I'll just do the same again with the arms, looking to see any little bits of flash that I don't want. Maybe won't make something stick together. It's a bit of flash on the strap. I want that strap to be smooth. So I'm just taking it, I'm using a mixture of the back of the blade to scrape and the sharp edge of the blade just to take off any odd bits. Sprue line on the underside of this here, see if you can catch that, see what I'm doing. I'm just moving that out. Looks good. And a bit where I've chopped him off under the chin, I'll just trim that bit. Hopefully we're keeping this in focus for you. And that's really the first stage. So next stage is using the glue, gluing our wee guy together. Again, those of you that are used to making these guys up, you know all this stuff, but there's lots of new guys out there who haven't made up figures before. So we're using plastic glue, and the way plastic glue works is it melts one bit of plastic to another. You need to give it a wee bit of time. Let's get a bit of flow of glue. So I put a little bit of glue on both the base where it's going, and I like to just put it on like that and then take it off, give it a few minutes. It just needs sort of 30 seconds or so to start melting, and then I can press that down. It should be tacky already. A few moments, and if I put that aside, that will dry nicely like that. So then I would go on and do all the rest of my main bodies on the bases, keeping all the bits beside them. And once he's dried, we'll come back and do the rest. Okay, it's been 4 or 5 minutes. I've actually zoomed in a little bit so you can see a bit closer. But he's only 4 or 5 minutes and he's not fully cured yet, but he's good enough to work on. And so we just need to add a little spot of glue to the arms. And while that's doing its melting bit, we put it to the opposite surfaces. put that down, and again to the opposite surface, and again just give the glue a couple of seconds to start doing its work. And we can toot the two surfaces together, trying to keep all the glue off ourselves. That should tack on there. Then adjust it up to where you want it to be. Always check from the back as well, just to make sure that everything's lined up and there's as few gaps as possible. And then we've got two arms in there. Now he's supposed to be running along, just making sure I get that in there. Have a quick check from the back. He's looking pretty good at the moment. And I must say, these guys are going to be pretty quick really to put together. Only thing left to do is a dab or two for the head. Little dab on both surfaces. There we go. Give that a few seconds to do its magic. Oops daisy. Try not to get glue all over your figure. We don't want big fingerprints in it, so I'm putting it off camera there. And now we've got to figure out where we want his head to go. I'm just going to pose him more or less like he is on the little sheet there. So there he is on the little sheet. Don't know if you can see it. That's close enough representation, I think. His arm might be up a little bit. We can reposition that still. There we go. And just one last check, and then we would lay him down off to the side. Move on to the next chap. Usually by the time you've finished a batch, if you're doing the whole lot, 30 together or whatever, and of course we always put our little wire down the tube there to make sure that tube's always clean when we're using it. By the time you've finished this, your guys would all be ready, and they're basically ready to go because we've done all the sprue lines. And what I'm going to do is put half a dozen of these guys together and show you how they look set up. And here's the 6 guys made up. They've come out really nice, and see if we can get it into focus. They came out really nice. They were very easy to put together, as most of them, the weapons and the arms came as one piece. So we're talking about, including the base, basically a 4-part plastic model, but there's still enough in there. Well, 5-part for that one. I added an enamel belt. So basically a 5-part model. Very quick and easy to put together, not the usual hassle. So for you guys that like the metal minis, because there's very little makeup, these probably took about the same time. By the time you've cleaned up the metal minis, etc., about the same time to make actually, these guys. So that's definitely an improvement, and you're getting some of the adjustability to give you the different poses with these guys. Here's my kneeling guy shooting again. He was a 5-part because the legs come in 2 bits, but you can see they go together pretty darn well. That was the guy you saw me making up. Again, probably doesn't come across quite as well, but these are quite nice. These are quite nice minis. And you've got the guy with the Piat guy running with the Piat and the ammo there, and the final chap. Yep, who just dropped. Where is he? There he is, the final chap there with the stain gun. Nicely done. I haven't really put backpacks or anything on these, just kept these ones simple. And then what we'll do is we'll do another video where we'll do a quick paint tutorial to get these guys on the table. Overall, I'm very impressed with them. Some of the arms, I don't know if you can see, there's a little gap at the back in that one. It's very small, and actually that'll fill in with paint once we undercoat them, I'm pretty sure. I was very impressed with the way they went together. I think it's a great wee system. You don't get too many of separate weapons, so if you want to use, have weapons, so say slung over shoulders, etc., you don't get that, but you've got the ease of putting them together. They're very quick and easy to put together, and with the heads you get the different You can give them helmets. I've given all these guys berets, but you get the helmets, a parachute, the Airborne helmets, and you get the Polish berets in there as well. And I think one of the guys, is it that one? I don't know if you can see him. He's got a bandaged head. So there's plenty in there to give you some variety, and overall I'm really pleased with these models. I'll definitely be making them up and maybe have a little Airborne army for myself. The other thing I could see myself using these for, it's probably what I'll actually do with them, is you can make them up for SAS. It gives you plastic SAS models, and with the berets obviously, and just need to, I don't know, I think all of the weapons could be easily used as SAS weapons mid to late war. So that was my thoughts on those. I don't know if you've got other thoughts, guys, what you might use them for. But as I say, in the next video we'll start off painting. We'll be using Army Painter, I think, and you can link to that if you want to see how to get these on the table. Take care.